Actually, just on a side note, I called Blaze.
Okay.
Trying to get him to respond to that yet.
How are you?
Actually get a commission.
Right there.
Okay.
Okay.
Everything else is.
Yeah, our calendar didn't have 28 blocked off. It's a holiday.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I sent that.
I appreciate you saying that. I like, I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
yeah. Yeah, so it's that authority just got renewed
Yeah, I'm excited.
for like 5 years. So we get to,
I've emailed him a couple times and I called him. Try again. Yes.
yeah, he doesn't. I was gonna have,
We can try to find somebody else.
Block now that it's in.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
need to go see it.
yeah, you can have my, district archaeologist.
Really excited.
Not of the sites,
And then
talking general terms about
getting to
what
work
they
with
are.
some folks more, just
Do you
to,
bring it?
we're gonna get this paper.
I think
More
there's
and more involved.
space.
This is getting real.
Depends on if
Yeah.
Laser or somebody else wants to do it.
Right.
It's been really awesome. Excited about that.
How are you doing?
It's been.
Excellent. That's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, thanks.
That's all right. I'm a little bit tired. It's my first day back at work since the
Yeah.
24th.
Fun.
Howard Road.
That's your second. You need some more fun?
I got little bruises on it. They all know.
Yes, but it's like.
I was like, oh, it's cool.
Sense some sun.
Totally
Yeah.
okay. You can just.
Yeah, I was in Mexico for a week. But
Yes.
before that, I was just
I
hanging
was
out.
talking a little better.
Kevin went to see my mother-in-law and I stayed with the dogs.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's still a
yeah,
lot of
like
down.
whatever.
and all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like all that is just like,
Yeah, and the entry can be harder.
and that's healthy, good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah.
What is that?
That's good, yeah. Good question.
I actually don't know.
Yeah, good
I
question.
don't know. Everyone does a whole thing.
Thank you, Scarlett.
Thank you.
Our season.
You're very like.
Yeah. Cold all of a sudden. I was listening to the NPR on the way here to Leaborn, so it's gonna probably get into like 0 tonight. I was like, oh, I'm not ready.
I just got in my car this morning, it was 12 when I started it, but then as I dropped off the hill down into Mountain Air Road, it dropped to 7.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, it was too cold.
That's like real
It's real winter in there.
playing around.
Oh, it's not even Arizona winter. That's very cold. Like any I don't even have to like scrape my windshield. It's so weird.
Yes, he actually did the whole like
That's high desert right there.
really well.
Yeah, yeah.
Watching all the stuff in California, I'm like very nervous right
Oh,
now.
I know, it's horrifying.
Yeah, it's not
I think everybody's got their fingers crossed. Start figuring out proper dancing.
Someone was telling me metal roofs are good. Replacing a roof with a metal roof. I'm like, that sounds great. Too bad it's like 15 grand to put a metal roof on your house.
Sounds so loud too when it rains.
Okay.
Like, I would think so, yeah, like a metal roof.
Oh, I would have thought they did something to mitigate that. Yeah, that would be.
Like, I mean, it's
A lot of people like that.
Yeah, I know they're supposed to hold up way better.
It's
Last
fire.
way longer than,
That would make sense.
and just in general, like last longer than shingle roofs.
The
But
dogs
they're
is
crazy
rough
expensive.
dogs.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not gonna get the dogs.
Yeah.
So,
Like, yeah.
you know, so it's just like.
I worked last week.
Faster.
Oh my gosh.
Better.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
It's a member of the family.
he
Yeah,
said,
of course, of course.
"Not doing better."
But-
It's been last, I had some stuff today.
Are we ready?
So,
All right, we've got a quorum? Yes. Okay. The old proceeding. Passes.
the style choice for you, we know.
Yeah.
We need to take off one pair and put on another pair.
Yeah.
Good, good. I'm well on my way to progressive. Okay. Today is January 13th, 2025, and it's 4:00, and we'll go ahead and call the Beautification and Public Art Commission meeting to order. First thing we'll do is roll call. So in order on the list, Carla McCord, Chair, I'm here. Claire Edelman Heath.
Present.
Claire Johnson. Audrey Travelby.
Present.
J. Michael Cruz, Vice Chair.
Present.
Matt McGrath.
Present.
Michael Rulon. Okay. We have a quorum. Oh,
It's Hunter.
Oh, okay. Moving on to item C, upcoming events. Just a reminder to please look at flagstaff365.com for upcoming events and meetings called for art and sciences. And I would say also, I've been remiss not finding events to submit as well, so just remember to do that. Number two, there's a council presentation by Dave McIntyre on January 14th at about 3:15 p.m. regarding the cultural study executive summary, which I believe we heard about at the last BPAC. And the upcoming RFQ for lead arts agencies. So might be worth just plugging into the online version if you can't make it. I do that quite a bit with council meetings. It's always a nice thing. I just run in the back on your second screen.
I will say it is basically identical to Eliza's presentation, except me doing it. So probably not as good. And also 3:15 was when we were first on the agenda. We are now second on the agenda, so 3:15-ish.
And it'll be nice though.
As a heads up.
It's always really good to hear the council questions. It gives you an appreciation for what they're thinking about and what maybe might drive some future projects. So I like listening to those. You can always listen to it after the fact as well. And then item 3, BIA grant APS cabinet ribbon cutting, and that's on site at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, February 18th. That is the one with the ravens, correct? Yes. Okay, and the invitation will be sent out with local details. And Jana, I believe you've already sent most of everybody save the date or no?
No, I haven't got.
No, okay,
So.
all right, I'm not sure. So I know that there's been some conversation about that.
Why are we doing a ribbon cutting for this one cabinet? We don't usually do ribbon cuttings for cabinets, do we?
It's to launch the APS agreement. APS very much would like to have, it's more of a photo op. They've signed an agreement to let us use, 10 of their cabinets. And it's to kick that off. And as you know, we did accidentally wrap one of their cabinets early, the Ravens. So we're going to go ahead and use it.
But this would have been the first.
Yeah.
It would have been the first. It would have been the first anyway, but it wouldn't have been up yet. But yes, we don't usually do it for individual, you're right, cabinets. But the reason we are is because it is a big thing to have gotten that agreement with APS.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then moving on to item D, public participation. Arizona open meeting law prohibits the commission from discussing or acting on an item which is not listed on the prepared agenda. As a reminder, we can respond to criticism made by those addressing the commission. Ask staff to review a matter or ask that a matter be placed on a future agenda. And I just thought I would read that because we haven't read it in a while. So anyway, is there any public participation?
I received none.
Okay, thank you. And then item E, approval of the minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review the December minutes? Is there a motion to approve the December minutes? And a second? Great, and was there any commentary? Okay, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Nobody else is in
I'm gonna
favor
abstain.
from approving the minutes?
I wasn't here for the last meeting.
That's just 3 of us. Is there anybody else that's? Or did you say aye, Audra?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed you.
Well, you second.
I seconded.
Oh,
So
okay.
should I also say aye? Okay, sorry.
Okay. You're like behind. Sorry. Awesome, the minutes are approved. And then moving on to item F, staff or announcements. Are there any staff announcements?
I have a couple. Annalisa, if you can mind pulling up the ribbon. Okay, so I'm going to be reporting on the sale of an asset that is in Beautification Arts and Sciences purview. It is this lighted holiday decor that is called Ribbon. In advance. Thank you. And so it was previously sited at the mall. It is no longer being used. Maybe Dave can chime in as to why that's the case. But it's no longer being installed at the mall, and we simply don't have storage to keep it on any longer. So it was determined to be sold.
Do you want me to provide? a little
Yeah,
context?
please.
The quick version is that this was originally the one, you know where the orb goes at 4th Street? This was originally purchased for that spot, but public conversation led us to put the orb there and move this one out. We made we worked with a number of different locations, but the mall ended up being the one that was willing to put in a foundation and support it because it takes some work there. They no longer want it because they want to do a different set. So we've looked at other locations and we can't find one that like somebody would pay to take it for. But that's why the mall just wants to move in a different direction for their decorations.
Thank you for that context. So the original price there, $18,755 from a company called Holiday Lights and Magic. It's assembled in 11 pieces, and it's currently at storage in the police yard, which was a temporary storage solution for us, but they are now wanting to reclaim that footprint. And so we're rehousing things. This is one of those things that needed to be rehoused, but didn't have a home. So we're moving forward with the sale, disposal by sale. And just as a reminder, this is classified as a beautification object, so not a work of art that would need to go through a formal deaccessioning procedure. So for this one, we're just reporting to you that the sale is happening. Heidi has signed the property disposal form, and we'll let you know when it gets sold and update you all with the progress there. Great.
And then you also have item 2.
I do have item 2, and this is just a brief update that our BIA applicant, Seneca, she was the one that had the documentary film. You had approved that grant contingent on them getting funding from the Grand Canyon Fund. They did not receive that funding. So they are seeking other funding. And so if they have a year to receive that funding under your motion to accept the contingency. And so they're going to let us know if they do end up getting that.
Can you please remind me, which was that application?
It was the documentary film.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and I'll just add that you guys said a certain amount of funding that they had to raise. They thought they were going to get the Grand Canyon, but they could pursue others. So your approval is still in effect.
Yeah, so they're looking for 50,000.
If they can find that same amount of funding.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome, Michael.
Hello.
And then, are there any, I don't have any announcements for item 3. Do you have any announcements, Michael?
I do not.
Okay. Are there, for item 4, other commissioner announcements? Anyone else have anything to share? Okay. And then item 5, Miranda, council liaison, council member suite, vice mayor suite.
Vice mayors.
Wow.
Just briefly, we did do the appointments for the commissions last week, and I am going to be staying with BPAC. I'm sorry. I will be at the APS ribbon cutting. I believe the mayor will be there as well. And I did have something else and I can't think of it. If it comes to me, I'll. It's a third thing.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Item G, action items. There are none. So then we're down to item H, discussion items. And the first one is downtown placemaking. And this one looked interesting. So we're interested to hear the presentation.
Hello guys, how you doing? I'm Hunter Abear. I'm the I've met probably a good bit of you, but I'm the new executive director for the Downtown Business Alliance, and I wanted to give a presentation to you guys about some placemaking ideas to make downtown a more inviting and more exciting place to be. So I can't drive this, so I'm gonna have to just say next slide to whoever is driving it. Jana, are you driving? Who's driving this?
That would be myself.
Who is that?
Annalisa.
Annalisa? Okay, thank you so much. So Annalisa, I have a lot of slides in here, but I was planning on burning through them pretty quick. So I'm just gonna say next here. These are some of the old banner signage that used to be in our downtown. A lot of you are probably familiar with those. They were taken down because people were hanging on them, which damaged the brackets and all. Next, please. So we moved away from that and through the BPAC installed a good bit of planters in our downtown. Back to, all right, next slide again. And so with those planters, I'd like to add some sort of placemaking signage here. Like you see, this is one of the past downtowns I worked in downtown Lafayette, Louisiana. We had custom-made metal signs that just said downtown Lafayette there, and that was actually kind of like a riff on the organization's logo and the flag of the region. It was the Acadian flag. Next slide, please. And so I kind of figured we could do something very similar here with the existing hardware that used to hold the banners on the downtown poles there. There's a handful of pretty good custom metal workers here. I'd like to do something like this on the poles downtown, just above the planters. Next, and there's also a potential to sorry, I jumped the gun there. There's also potential to add some sort of like Route 66 call out that could coincide with the centennial along 66 there on the downtown side. Next, please. And next, please. So we've had a lot of success with different types of scavenger hunts in our downtown. There's a Waldo scavenger hunt, an NAU scavenger hunt, and we do a very successful Harry Potter scavenger hunt. And so it kind of got me thinking that something like what's been done here, this is in, I think it's Greenville, South Carolina. They do, it's called Mice on Main. And next slide, please. This is like a permanent scavenger hunt, and so they have a number of small mice sculptures that are kind of hidden around their downtown, maybe on windowsills, park benches, that sort of thing. And there's a website that has the clues there, so like it could be a permanent installation in our downtown. Something similar, I was thinking, like the next slide. It could be something that maybe speaks a little bit more to this region. I know I've seen a lot of ravens and crows around. I think that's a pretty unique thing, pretty cool. There's also a squirrel that's native to this area that is the Abert or the Abert squirrel that lives among the ponderosa forest, which could be kind of cool too. Just kind of a permanent installation to bring people in and keep them excited about the downtown area. Next slide, please. And so just to map it through together, some potential locations if that were something that we could consider. So next slide, please. Heritage Square. We have some issues there. This is from the Diablo Burger patio, and you can see that's like their main dining area is on the patio there, and unfortunately it kind of faces the dumpster area here at Heritage Square. It's just unsightly and often overflowing because a lot of businesses share that area, right? Next slide. And so I'd like to propose a dumpster screen there. I think it could be a great way to kind of hide some of the unsightly things that are going on there. Next slide, please. And I really liked the metal work that was done here at the Aspen Niche project, and I think that is something that could be carried over to other projects. I like the idea of creating some sort of repetition and some sort of element that can be carried over across projects, and I think that's a pretty cool example. Next slide, please. So it could look something like that. I just kind of photoshopped that in there just to give you an idea. The scale's kind of wonky and the colors aren't right, but just an idea of what that could look like. Next slide, please. And so alley activation, I know that you guys have talked about this, and enhancing the Aspen Alley is something that's on your agenda and something that you look forward to completing. So next slide, please. These are some case studies that I pulled from one of my past jobs when I was working in downtown New Orleans. Just some things that we were thinking about doing in some of our kind of underutilized areas. And so, any combination of murals, lighting, projection mapping, some sort of ground installation. These are some dance steps that I thought was pretty cool and pretty fitting for New Orleans. So figuring out what works best in Aspen Alley is kind of something we need a little bit more local influence on. So next slide, please. this is something that was pitched a while back, and I know we discussed with Jana and some other folks, and there was some issues with the dark sky regulations and how that fits in. So I've been meeting with the Dark Sky Coalition, and we're requesting a sample from this company to figure out if we can retrofit these to install some kind of hood or something on them. That way we could be dark sky compliant and add some sort of like more creative, exciting feel as we encourage people to take that walk down that slight little pedestrian corridor there that leads from 66 to Aspen and then on to Heritage Square. So it's a pretty key area. Next slide, please. And this is a pretty big. So you may not have noticed, but these are getting like increasingly more difficult to accomplish. So I started out with the easy stuff here, and then we'll jump into district vibrancy and wayfinding. So next slide, please. So these are just some good looking examples of district wayfinding and maps and things that I found on the internet. Next slide. This is an example from Anchorage, Alaska, that was submitted to me by Michelle McNulty from the planning department. So this is a project that she sent to me. This is a fire bag on the right here, and it was chosen as a symbol of the native culture there. It's a ceremonial bag. Whenever there's fire ceremonies, they keep their fire making tools and their kind of ceremonial supplies in that bag. Next slide, please. So they kind of wove that imagery of the bag into their trailhead signage on some of their trails over there in Anchorage. I thought that was a cool way to kind of elevate the representation of the tribes there, and just kind of a cool thing as you're on like native lands or heritage lands, a cool callback to it. Next slide, please. And so this is my hometown, Lafayette, Louisiana. Next slide, please. There's a huge French culture there, and so it's something that they take really serious in protecting. And so all the signage in the downtown there is primarily in French and then secondarily in English, which is a cool learning moment. It's a cool cultural moment wherever you go. So next slide. The team that worked on this did a comprehensive signage overhaul, did the whole, I think it's the MUDC, which is the signage guidelines. They went through and redesigned everything to be bilingual, which is pretty cool, and a pretty cool way to preserve your heritage, preserve your culture. Next slide, please. So just a continuation, all the pictograms that were redone for the park signage and any other kinds of pictograms that were needed on kind of accessory signage there. Next slide. This is what it looks like installed. And so there was, there's a number of ways to do this. They could be as simple as vinyl clings on some of the poles that have directional info. There could be these kind of channel signs that bolt on to existing stop signs or other signage. And then the biggest thing, the biggest presence is these kinds of totems here. They're these two-legged poles, these aluminum cabinets that are wrapped in a vinyl wrap with directions to like where the courthouse is, where the library is, where the parks are, bus stations, that sorts of thing. And it also gives what I think is pretty cool. It's an estimate of how long it would take you to walk there. So it encourages walkability for folks and just helps people navigate that aren't maybe familiar with the area. So it could be tourists or folks that don't really visit the downtown often. Could give them a little assistance there. Next slide, please. And so Flagstaff, we have a pretty cool signage suite. This is currently on the Foots trails, and those have been redesigned since, but not totally deployed yet. Next slide, please. And so this is the architect's renderings of future signage in Flagstaff, and some of them have been deployed. You'll see some in Thorpe Park. There's one of the freestanding signs there in Heritage Square, and I think it's a great precedent. Next slide, please. This Buffalo Park sign here. It's a very handsome sign. Next slide, please. And you'll see that this is our material palette for our downtown. You'll have brick pavers, natural stone. That Corten steel from the Aspen niche is Corten's a very popular material here. It's on our planters. It's on the it's kind of everywhere. There's like a rusted steel is kind of one of the looks here. It kind of goes back to like the historical nature of the district. Green paint, of course, everything is municipal green. And then there's a lot of wood tones that are also used here. So next slide, please. And so you'll see that that Buffalo Park example uses all of the materiality that we have existing in our downtown, but they do use a slate blue instead of a green. So just something to call out, and something that, you know, we could look at as we're potentially designing some sort of placemaking and wayfinding signage in our downtown. We luckily have a great precedent and something to build on. So I'm thankful for that. So next slide, please. I think it's the next project. So pedestrian safety is also a huge importance to us downtown. Next slide. We have this this street that's kind of like a river that separates the two sides of our downtown, the south side and the north side. And you know, some great facilities right on the other side, like the visitor center there. So next slide, please. And so you'll see this is an aerial of Route 66, and you'll just see it. It's a massive road that separates it, and people cross it all the time on bicycle and on foot. So next slide, please. You'll see that there's all these painted medians along 66 here, and painted medians aren't really effective, but the space has already been dedicated as a non-vehicle area, right? So next slide, please. I'd love to have a sort of a raised median project like was done here on Butler. I think that's a very successful way to make people a little more comfortable crossing the street. Oftentimes we see older folks that can't necessarily cross the street in the 20 seconds or so that you're given. So could be a slight pedestrian refuge in some instances, and also gives us an opportunity to add some landscaping, or like as seen in the next slide here. Over here in Sedona, which is 89A, which is another state highway. I know Route 66 is a federal highway, but just a slight installation like this really makes it less daunting for a pedestrian to cross, gives you a touch point to do something. As far as beautification goes, you know, adding some Corten steel, adding some sculptures, adding some sort of landscaping or other beautification, or maybe perhaps a gateway sign. So next slide, please. And so this is 66 through downtown Albuquerque, just to give you an idea of what another state is doing that's very close to us here. You'll see sort of the same things, right? Medians, planting, signage. Nothing groundbreaking here, just advocating for some improvements there. Next slide, please. Aspen Avenue. So this is a you know, pie in the sky kind of idea. So this is what we call a terminating vista. Whenever you stand anywhere past, I guess, like the Thai restaurant here, it kind of feels like downtown ends there, right? There's not much to do. And then you look that direction and you see the backside of an office building. Not very exciting, not very inviting, doesn't really encourage people to continue walking that direction, right? Next slide, please. Traditionally, a terminating vista has something that encourages people to go that direction. It could be Union Station, it could be some sort of natural beauty, historic architecture, or a public or community space. Next slide, please. And so in our downtown vision plan, you'll see this D area is one of the catalytic project areas that was called out by our consultants. And we already have some motion on the catalytic project A there, which is the old courthouse property. And so it would really be great to bookend this sort of development, you know, follow this private investment with some sort of like community or public investment on D there. And it's interesting that our consultants didn't include that Babbitt Ford site on the actual plan here. So next slide. So this has been called out on our plan as like a gateway opportunity, or some way for us to enhance our entrance into downtown. And so on the right, those are just some instances of other gateway signage that welcome people to, you know, different neighborhoods. Could be downtown, could be a market district, could be an art district, but an opportunity to brand things, to make things a little more exciting, to let people know they have arrived. Creating that sense of arrival is important here. Next slide, please. And so as you approach Eldon from 66, you'll notice Eldon is a one-way north, and then Aspen is a one-way east. So whenever you hit the intersection of Eldon and Aspen, you can really only take a left. So that's not really a very useful street. So thinking about the future, it'd be great to abandon that short segment of the street there to create one large unified parcel. Next slide, please. Which gives you the opportunity to create a landmark development that can, celebrate that terminating vista, add something that is architecturally exciting, something that could, attract people further down that block, which would encourage further development in that area. Next slide, please. And that could be something as, extravagant as, a large piece of public art. James Terrell here. This is on Rice University's campus in Houston, Texas. Next slide, please. Or it could be something like this is a park in Vancouver, Canada. This is a multi-use park. You'll see those large trellises overhead hang different art. Periodically, the art is changed. Here you'll see some kind of like native totem artwork there. Next slide, please. And on the inside of the park, that multi-purpose space is an amphitheater with a splash pad and a cafe. And then on the other side of that park, next slide, please, is a large playground space. So, basically advocating and turning this space that is kind of, it's a surface parking and parking for a vehicle dealership. But thinking about the future and what that could mean for the development here, what that could mean for visitors in our downtown, and how we can draw more people in and keep people longer and give them something to do that is, that's a free activity. We don't have many free activities here. And, this could be anything. It could be an art museum. It could be a performance space. It could be any number of things, but, filling in the missing pieces to our downtown and giving people a reason to be here and creating something that creates a sense of arrival or something that people can be proud of and say, hey, yeah, that's Flagstaff. That's where I live. Come visit. It's a beautiful place, right? So next slide. And you'll see that presently we have this. Next slide. This is our entry that we showed earlier. And then the next slide that's the other side. This is the side that could really become a gateway into downtown. And so you could have something architecturally exciting from either side. And the interesting thing about that site is that approximately due west is a very good shot. You can see Lowell Observatory. You're basically like right in line with one of the old observatory buildings there at Lowell. And so you could celebrate this as the intersection of arts and science. And you can really brand it as like downtown Flagstaff, or Flagstaff being a community that celebrates the intersection and its location at the intersection of arts and science. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, a lot of things to be excited about, but a lot of heavy lifts. And I'm just, socializing these ideas right now and planting some seeds in hopes that we can gain some traction in the future. So thank you guys. I know that's a lot of information at one time. I'm gonna get a lot of opportunities to present, so I just got to run with it when I get them. So yeah, if you guys have questions, I'd love to chat a little bit more.
Any questions or comments? That's definitely in line with some of the conversations we've had internally here in the commission. We've definitely talked about ways to create places of probably fairly astute of you to put a James Terrell in the presentation. So, just let us know what your next steps are as far as getting this ideas out there. This is also just for your own information, and I know you're focused on the downtown, but this is a citywide issue. Large boulevards with no medians, lack of beautification on major streets, the need to narrow, crosswalks by putting in those medians. It's all, I think, something people around here know about. So I don't know if folks would be against it so much as ask questions about, and how are we going to pay for it?
Yeah.
But it seems like awesome stuff. So thank you. It's great to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
I'll just go ahead and add that, we have had some specific conversations in BPAC. We talked at the retreat about the Aspen Alley and about the direction of the Aspen Alley to perhaps pursue first with Arizona Public Service and telecom about taking down the overhead wires in that one stretch between Aspen and, the halfway point to Vice Mayor Sweet's business. And that would do so much to make the entire alley more seem like a pedestrian, crossway without doing anything else. Because anything that you put overhead, a canopy, lights, you're going to have that clutter up there. So we are pursuing that idea already, and also maybe some lighting, and if we're going in there in undergrounding wires, then we probably need to fix the drainage. So that in itself would be a huge project for our program, but we are kind of feeling our way on that already. I just want to inform BPAC for transparency. I did meet with Hunter specifically about whether or not the flower poles would be okay for, a cutout metal, placemaking downtown. And we thought, staffs thought that it could work, but that of course any specific design would have to be brought to you guys for approval. So, and then the other thing I think that got discussed, and very specifically, was perhaps a screen for that garbage in Heritage Square, whether it's the Aspen niche or another cut metal design. I think I just made it clear that before undertaking another such project, given how long it took us to get the business license agreement for Aspen niche, that would be one thing that I would like assistance from others, so that our program doesn't have to carry the full weight of getting that aspect accomplished. So I just wanted to let you know the very specific conversations, just for transparency, that staff has had with DBA and BPAC. Our process. We like to vet specific projects in the summer and then bring them for review at our October retreat, each and every year. We have to deviate from that sometimes, but that is our ideal. So when a certain idea presented has enough, weight to say, okay, now it is a project, then we like you guys to first see it, in the summer, and then, of course, approve it into the budget in October. So, all right, that's my 2 cents.
Claire, quickly, maybe for the group and not such who's does the banners right now? Is that?
So we don't actually do the banners. That program was terminated. It was under pros.
Okay.
And it was, as you mentioned, there was a lot of damage to them because people like to get a little silly sometimes and play on the infrastructure, which they didn't hold up to. Plus, it was a challenging program to run and ended up being costly. So they reduced it. We have talked at times about whether there was some way to bring just art back, but it hasn't been something that has felt like the right way to approach it at this point.
Okay, yeah, because I like I think placemaking with the banners in addition to the flowers could be nice. I've noticed we don't do pride banners, and maybe that's a bit of my own personal agenda, but I think it'd be nice to still have an opportunity to celebrate important cultural events in our city like that. So that'd be my one consideration with doing a permanent piece instead of a temporary banner location.
Well, it looked like there was space on both sides of the pole. One could be a permanent one, and one could be
Yes,
something that could have a vinyl wrap.
absolutely. So yeah, as long as that's
Yeah.
part of the consideration as a final piece, I think that'd be great.
And then, actually just adding on to that, one thing I really liked about the things that you selected for your presentation, Hunter, I hope it carries forward, is that many of the pieces you selected had a lot of thought and research behind them. And were not just slapdash assembled, using whatever most Microsoft font was the most convenient. So I do really appreciate that she showed very thoughtful examples that reflected cultural issues, that reflected community aesthetic, but that went a little bit further, than it had layers. And I really encourage you to continue in that direction with any placemaking so that it doesn't become generic. It'll help preserve and create something unique that's a lot more lasting for our community and our tourism as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The biggest thing you can do for like good placemaking is to really take cues from your local culture to make it feel like its own place and not anywheresville, USA, right? So it's something I take seriously too. So thanks for noticing that.
Jenna, for staff, it might be something that we look at once we get the new logo. That's supposed to be decided on, I think, this summer.
Let's do a quick comment. Usually I try not to.
No, please do. It's great. This is an interesting topic. It's fun.
So Hunter, I think we've talked about this before, but if we're talking about screening in the dumpsters over in Heritage Square, we have the same problem in the dumpsters, around the dumpsters behind Sasoba. So it's another place where there's just, and that's in the heart of downtown as well. So if we can just keep that in the consideration.
I mean, honestly, it's truly a citywide issue
Yeah.
because of the way
Yeah.
the garbage collection works. There are just dumpsters out in front of buildings all over town. It's kind of annoying, but anybody have anything else? Great, thank you. Thank you, Hunter. Thank you for your time and your presentation.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Great. And then we're moving on to your hero and mine, Jana Weldon, for item number 2. Beautification, Arts and Sciences, FY26 capital budget request and 5-year plan.
Okay, so Annalise is also going to have to do the next for me, but I want to, before we move on to the first slide, just say that we tonight are talking about the capital project expenditures. And I'll probably remind you a few times throughout it, we do have some programs that are in operating. For instance, the multicultural, excuse me, not that one, but the BIA grants. The BIA grants is in operating, it is not in capital. So tonight we're going to focus on our capital project expenditures. So please go next. So reminder, we have 2 funds and they are separate, Arts and Sciences and then Beautification. And this is our schedule. We have the retreat that we had in October 25th, where you guys, we did a huge prioritization project. We looked at each individual project that was kind of in our plan, the budgets that were assigned to them. And then we, prioritized really what we wanted to go in FY26 and in FY27. And that's, kind of a focus. Because today was the deadline for me to input the monies for FY26. And we completed that actually last week. And so your priorities were definitely taken into account for that. Today we're going to talk about, what ultimately did end up happening with the capital projects with your prioritization and a few other things that creeped in. And then on February 10th, that's when we're going to review the operating expense increase. Okay. And, then that will account for things like the funding for our lead art agency, presently Creative Flagstaff. That's where the BIA grants are. That's where the traffic signal cabinets are. So those projects, if we need any increases in those, that will be in February. And it will be actually led by Dave McIntyre, for that next month. And yes, I know, it's my birthday. I'm taking it off. Apologies in advance. Then on March 10th, that is when we actually pass the budget. And then you're passing your recommendation to City Council, because ultimately City Council passes the budget. So that's our schedule. Next. So, my goal, tonight just is basically I want you comfortable, with the prioritization, is captured. so that, the funding for FY, 26 is solid. The other things in the out years, we can switch them up next year. So they're not, they're not as critical. They'll be in the 5-year plan, but they're not as critical as what goes in FY 26. Next. So I'm just going to give you, this is last year's 5-year budget plan for arts and sciences. And I picked arts and sciences because it's the smaller fund and it's less pages. But this is just kind of what, when it's updated for FY 26, this is what it's going to look like. So this would be like the first page. It has just kind of the overview. Next. And then the second page, again, because arts and sciences is much smaller, but you'll see at the bottom, it says public art capital. That's where you see all of our capital projects. And, you can see, this was for FY 25. You can see some things didn't have any, money until FY 28, like the Pluto sculpture. But, you focus in on, what goes in FY for last year, it was for FY 25, but when we update it, it'll be FY 26. Next. And then it just kind of has a total, fund balance. Next. But we do have some preliminary money numbers. So this is it for FY 26 that's coming up. And this one is for arts and sciences. And you can see highlighted in yellow the one-time capacity. And that's kind of what I wanted you to focus in on this sheet. We spend a certain amount of money every year. In this one, we have a certain amount of money that does go to our lead art agency every year. It is ongoing. And, you can see in our ongoing capacity, we don't have a lot of room. But in our one-time capacity, we do have quite a bit. Now, we always have given extra project money to the lead art organization for those project grants. We gave extra money for ArtX. And then this is where our capital projects are considered one time. You do the project and then it finishes. So the capital projects come out of the one-time capacity as well. I'll just a little comment. We last year we didn't have as much as we thought, and this year we have more than we thought. We think it's kind of balanced out because it is unusual for arts and sciences to have $1 million in capacity. Next.
Janet, can I mention one thing?
Yes, please.
I will say that these are preliminary 5-year plans.
Yes.
They are not sure.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's a new 5-year plan that's going to be coming out probably within the next week or so. So while we're sharing the information, there is a good chance that it will change some, and just kind of wanted to give, I know Janet wanted to give you guys context as we work through it, but these aren't firm numbers yet.
Right. It is all preliminary, and that's why hopefully by March it'll be more solid. All right, next. So this is arts and this is beautification. And so you can see both in ongoing capacity and one-time capacity that there is more funding in this. And every time you think that's a huge number, remember something like Lone Tree came in at 1.3 million, and again, the capital projects come out of that one time. So, but this is where most of our capital projects reside. The non-capital projects, again, that will be out of the operating will be things more like the beautification and action grants, the flowers program, and the traffic signal cabinet program. Okay, next. So here's where our FY 26 budget, the retreat results, and the projects that are in yellow are in operating. And then I also separated, I put in pink, and obviously some are both pink and yellow, are arts and sciences. So you can see that for the capital projects, in arts and sciences, we have the multicultural representation sculptural exhibition, the Cleo Murdoch Park 3D art, and hopefully this new Thorpe Park sculpture exhibition. And then all the rest of our capital projects are in beautification. So first of all, I just want to double check with everybody. You know, the top vote getters, you know, were the Huntington Gabion, as long as it's combined with the Ponderosa Verde Route 66, the East Side Streetscape, the consultant planning, and then the Thorpe Park sculpture exhibition. That's what I had as your top three for FY26. Does anybody have a correction on that? Okay, then next. All right, but we have some, you know, we're already at 20 projects, but we have some potential additions. And I have put these in the budget. I'm not really sure at this point which ones are 100% going or not in FY26, but they're definitely real possibilities. And this is just, you know, we get asked to do quite a few things, and sometimes projects jump up on us unexpectedly. So one of the things that might be an easy thing for us to accomplish and not really take a lot of staff time is when you guys at the retreat wanted to keep that Foots Trail sculpture program, we did think that before too much time had passed, this very highly thought of sculpture that did not get picked for the multicultural just because it wasn't as much about the multicultural, but was really real liked. We thought maybe we would go ahead and see if we could get the Rockman for the head of a Foots Trail. We don't have to do it. It's just a potential. The other thing is the Habitat for Humanity. And I'm sorry for Commissioner Rulon and Commissioner Travelby. This might be very new for you more. I mean, it was about a community garden out at Timber Sky. That they have actually, I think they're going to be starting to build this summer. So we might be looking at least designing that common space in FY26. The other one is the Montalvo Park mosaic redo, and this is a little bit of a sadness. So they're redoing, they're creating a STEM center, or at least they hope to be. My understanding from Public Works is that it is not 100% a sure thing. It has not yet been approved by City Council. Because there are budget concerns over the entire STEM building at the Joe Montalvo Park. But I would say things are encouraging, that it will be on City Council's agenda either late January or early February. And as they've did some preliminary studies, they may not be able to keep this wall. And that means the mosaic would be destroyed. It's still not, again, not a 100% thing, but my understanding is, of course, you know, if money is completely not an object, they could support it. But some of the indications from the preliminary designs are that in order to support that wall through the construction, they would actually have to affect the whole design of the whole building. And, you know, we can approach the artist and have the mosaic redone. I think it would be very important to do that. You know, this is in our collection. It has not been in our collection that long. I think it's very well thought of and well liked. So, you know, I think that project probably, you know, has a very high priority for us to get involved in. The other one is the Route 66 Preservation Park. This is our project. It is a beautification project. I'm not really sure what year it was put in. I think 2000, is it either 13 or 17? Maybe Dave can jump in. But it is, okay, great. Oh, okay, thank you. But it is, it needs to be refurbished. It needs to be repainted. Some of the signage out of whack. Now, it's kind of a hard site for people to easily get to if they're just coming in, to visit for the centennial. Because there's no parking near there. This is where the original road is. There's actually a section of the original road. And but it's on a foots trail. And it is, of course, generally occupied, often by the unsheltered. So there's, some thought of how do we, make this more accessible. There's a lot of thoughts going around and whether it should be promoted as part of the centennial. If it is going to be promoted as part of the centennial, it would be great if we could get it, repainted and spruced up. We have kind of gone down there and we're starting to get some preliminary estimates about what it would cost. But that's also something that has come up, since we had our retreat in October. So does anybody have any questions about these 4 projects?
If I could just add, the, people are going to the Route 66 one. We occasionally get tour buses that try to turn down the BNSF right away there. The Route 66 is such a big draw for a community that we are seeing a lot of people find their way there. I think the original vision was people would park and take the urban trail to get there because it is part of the Foots Trail. And for those who may not know, it's like, as Janice said, it's preserved, it's the original pavement from Route 66. It's one of the only places that exists. And, and so there have been a lot of conversations about like, do we try to get access to put in parking so it can be someplace that actually people get to or what, but it's a challenging spot and it is one that there are a lot of visitors going to, even though we're not really encouraging that in the current situation because of the fact that there's challenges with access. I just wanted to kind of add that extra little piece. We've been working with Discover Flag on trying to figure out what do you do in a situation such as this? Because that centennial next year is going to bring a ton of people down Route 66 and be a really big part of, well, Flagstaff's doing a lot, as you all know, because you voted to do some of the pieces as well to honor the Mother Road.
Do we have like a list or an itinerary or like some kind of gathering of like what all everybody is doing in the centennial?
Heidi, do you want to jump in?
There's a bunch of different organizations that are participating.
Jan, I couldn't hear that question all the way.
Heidi,
They want to know if there's, go ahead.
I just wanted to know, do we have some kind of compiled list of activities, things that people are doing to prepare or to celebrate the centennial?
Yeah, on February 25th, I'll be doing a presentation to council on everything that we plan to do for the centennial. We have 2 events that are being planned. One on June 6, 2026, and then one on November 11th, the actual day of the centennial, which will be a little bit smaller than what we're planning in June. We also have lots of other things that we're planning with signage along the entire route. Been working with ADOT for quite a while, and Discover Flagstaff will be doing the brand and putting metal signs on the intersection poles, up to the tune of 36 of them. And then, of course, Jana and all of you have been adding permanent signage on Route 66, which has been super helpful. So it's a lengthy list of things and probably too long to go into today, but definitely on February 25th, I'll be presenting and happy to have that information sent to this commission through Annalisa, if that is at all of interest.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So back to the Preservation Park refurbishment, is the location and the sign, do we advertise that anywhere? Like, is it on the public art map? Is it on?
Yes, it is on the public art map and it is also on Discover Flagstaff's, page. And like I said, it is a beautification project. I think that the impetus of, it needs to be refurbished regardless. It's just whether we rush it through, to have it ready for the centennial. We can put it on a longer leash, refurbishment. But obviously we're feeling like it should be, looking great for the centennial. And obviously there's another hope for another project to get some better access to it, but that wouldn't strictly be, up to us.
And are these 4 things listed in order or not? They're just random?
No, they're in alphabetical order.
Okay.
Chair, if I could add, part of the idea of refurbishing too is Ryan Randazzo, he's our media relations manager for Discover Flagstaff. He brings what we call familiarization tours to Flagstaff, and people want to do all things Route 66, and he was hoping that coming down to the park, which he's taken a few down to the park before, would be a little bit more of a highlight of the trip. But again, not a necessity. It's just that there's not a lot on that area or that side of town to really show them. And then, of course, like Janice said, we're trying to get better access so that a car or two could actually park there, go down to the area, check it out, read the information, those types of things. So that was another part of the interest of including some refurbishment. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that, Heidi. All right. More?
Next, yes, so there's more. So the project, yes, because I am gonna cover FY27 as well. So projects that should finish in FY26, that British phone booth, I'm hoping to get it over the finish line in FY25, but we did have some ADA issues that slowed it down. And really think it'll be done by August. It just might dip into FY26 a little bit. I'm hoping that we'll, get that Buffalo Park water tank mural done in 1 year. Put the call out sometime this summer. The Cleo Murdoch Park 3D art will certainly also be done late fall. And then we'll get motion refurbished also by the end of FY26. So we will clear away, I think, 4. So next, now this is FY27. So, again, the Aspen Alley undergrounding of the, utility wires, the community mosaic at First Street and Lockett, and the indoor exhibition were the 3 items that you guys prioritized for FY27. So when you see that 5-year budget in March, you should see all those funded in those, critical years of FY26 and FY27. And of course, we have more projects again than we really maybe can accomplish, but we always do know some go on hiatus for a while, and we try to just keep motion going on all of them. Next. And there is going to be some project removal. Remember, projects can be added in future years if needed. There's some that we discussed directly at the retreat. The Common Thread really didn't have a project. The Saturn Gates, the playground beautification didn't have a specific project. And the Portland Loo that pros asked us for isn't happening. So, those we discussed at the retreat. When I went through the 50 plus project sheets of all the projects we have on the books and for the next, 5 years, I found some things that could be removed. The Route 66 interpretive trail, we finished all viable projects in FY25, with those last Route 66 monuments. There was a couple more on there, but they can't be done. So I'm going to take that off of the list. There's projects that had both things in beautification and in arts and sciences, and I'm removing the arts and sciences part. The beautification definition and project budgets will cover the projects. And those are like the lunar landing, the Pluto sculpture, the alley initiatives, and the downtown connection center. And then there's one that was on there, Lone Tree from Pine Knoll to JW Powell. Again, the older commissioners are going to remember that there was some ugly shotcrete on the I-40 underpass. And we said that we would do it as a capital project because they were going to be redoing Lone Tree. They are redoing Lone Tree, but they're not redoing the part of that at that underpass. They're rerouting that project. And I think they're creating a new underpass. I wasn't quite clear on that. But they're not including that underpass that has the ugly shotcrete on it. So we need that underlying capital project. We can't redo an underpass by ourselves. That's just not going to happen. We had looked at other projects, maybe a BIA grant to probably add some maybe beautification to that shotcrete in a different form, in a different way. And I think that we're going to have to, go back to those ideas for that. So next. Questions and comments?
Anybody have any questions or comments? It seemed like it reflected our retreat pretty clearly.
I agree.
Very clear, Jenna.
Thank you, Jana.
You're welcome.
Great. With that, we can move on to item I. Request for future agenda items. Are there any requests for future agenda items?
Madam Chair, if you'd like, I can just give you the Route 66 Centennial presentation. If that's helpful to those that probably don't tune into every council meeting. If you want to add that, I can do that.
I'm wondering if that's extra credit for everybody, just because we do sometimes run long, but I mean, of course, I'm deeply interested, but I want to be careful about everybody else's time. So I love stuff like that. Does anybody else have any opinion about that?
I would like to know.
You'd rather have a presentation than go read it or watch it on the council presentation?
Okay. Would that be for March 10th, Heidi?
Sure, I'm happy to do it whenever, if you would like me to do it.
I mean, I think it might be valuable for some of our decision making over the next year or two. Why don't we go ahead and do it? If that's okay, I'll make a request for an agenda item if somebody's willing to second it.
I'll second.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Thank you.
There are a lot of projects BPAC has done
Yeah.
that tie into this, so.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of why I'm interested, so.
And
Okay.
I did want to add that also in February, we already have planned a past future agenda item request that you made. We will send it out and then just see if you have any questions or clarifications. We will be able to send out the full report on the cultural survey. You had asked that. I just wanted to let you know that it should be ready by February.
Okay, thank you. Look at us with all our extra agenda items lately. Good job, us. Okay, so moving on to item J, time and date for upcoming meetings. The next BPAC meeting is February 10th, 2024. Jana Logan's birthday at 4 p.m.
I'm the singer.
Who's bringing you cake?
Not Janice.
She won't be. My birthday's February 9th.
Okay. And item
I
K,
know.
we are adjourned. Thank you.
I got swarmed by students after class,
Oh.
the first day.